The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed like a swarm of angry bees, but Dr. Min Tran barely noticed. His heart raced as he glanced at the chart in his trembling hands. Elliot Carver, 32, Alpha, presenting with heat symptoms. Min's quiet life as a beta endocrinologist in Boston was about to collide with the one man who could unravel him, again. Min adjusted his glasses, pushing down the memory of Elliot's last visit 6 months ago. The Alpha's scent, cedar and storm, had lingered in his exam room for days, haunting him like a ghost. Elliot, CEO of Carver Tech, wasn't just any patient. He was a force of nature, a man whose mere presence demanded attention, yet he only appeared when his biology betrayed him. Min steeled himself and stepped into the exam room. Elliot sat on the edge of the table, his tailored suit straining against his broad shoulders. His dark skin glistened faintly with sweat, and his eyes, usually sharp with control, were clouded with the haze of heat. "Doc," he said, voice low and rough, "you're the only one I trust with this." Min's pulse quickened. He'd heard those words before, each time laced with a sincerity that made his chest ache. As a beta, Min was immune to the primal pull of alpha pheromones, which made him the perfect doctor for cases like this. But immunity didn't mean indifference, not when it came to Elliot. "Let's get started," Min said, keeping his tone professional despite the warmth creeping up his neck. He checked Elliot's vitals, hyper-aware of the Alpha's gaze tracking his every move. "Your heat's early this cycle," Min noted, scribbling on the chart to avoid those piercing eyes. "Stress can trigger it. Anything going on?" Elliot's laugh was bitter. "You mean besides running a company that's one bad headline from tanking? Yeah, you could say I'm stressed." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and Min caught a whiff of that intoxicating cedar scent. "But you already knew that, didn't you, Min?" The use of his first name sent a jolt through him. Most patients called him Dr. Tran, but Elliot always crossed that line, blurring the boundary between doctor and something else. Min cleared his throat. "I'm here to help, Mr. Carver. Let's focus on your symptoms." As Min administered the suppressant injection, Elliot's hand grazed his, lingering just a second too long. "You're too good at this," Elliot murmured, his voice softer now, vulnerable. Min's fingers froze on the syringe. He wanted to ask why Elliot kept coming back, why he trusted a beta doctor in a city full of specialists. But the question lodged in his throat, unspoken. The appointment ended too soon, as it always did. Elliot stood, towering over Min, his composure returning like armor. "See you in 6 months, Doc," he said, flashing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Min watched him leave, the door clicking shut like a verdict. Back in his office, Min sank into his chair, staring at the empty exam room through the glass partition. He'd chosen this career to help people, to bring order to the chaos of biology. But Elliot Carver was chaos incarnate, and Min wasn't sure how much longer he could keep his feelings locked away. That night, Min walked home through Boston's chilly streets, the Charles River reflecting the city's lights like scattered stars. He lived in a modest apartment in Back Bay, a world away from Elliot's penthouse in the Seaport District. Min's life was quiet, predictable, beta through and through. He didn't crave the intensity of alpha-omega dynamics, but Elliot's visits stirred something in him, something he couldn't name. His phone buzzed as he unlocked his door. A text from his best friend, Lila, a spirited Omega nurse at the hospital. "Saw Carver in the ER today. Dude's a walking storm. You okay?" Min sighed, typing back a quick "I'm fine" before tossing his phone onto the couch. Lila knew him too well, knew how Elliot's visits left him rattled. Min poured himself a glass of wine and sat by the window, watching the city pulse below. He thought of his parents, Vietnamese immigrants who'd worked tirelessly to give him this life. They'd never understood his choice to specialize in alpha-omega medicine, a field dominated by flashier doctors chasing prestige. But Min believed in the work, believed in helping people navigate the parts of themselves they couldn't control. Elliot, though, wasn't just a patient. He was a puzzle Min couldn't solve, a man who hid his vulnerability behind charm and power. Min had seen glimpses of the real Elliot, the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of a world that expected him to be unbreakable. And each time, Min wanted to reach out to bridge the gap between them. But he was a beta, and betas didn't get to play the hero in stories like this. The next day, Min's clinic was a blur of patients, but Elliot's chart lingered in his mind. He was reviewing lab results when Lila burst into his office, her curly hair bouncing. "Min, you won't believe this. Carverteca's stock just plummeted. Some whistleblower leaked shady financials." Min's stomach dropped. "Is Elliot, Mr. Carver okay?" Lila raised an eyebrow. "First name basis, huh? He's probably holed up in his tower, barking orders. But it's bad, Min. The news is everywhere." Min tried to focus on his work, but his thoughts kept drifting to Elliot. By evening, he couldn't resist. He pulled up a news app on his phone, scanning headlines about Carverteca's scandal. A grainy photo showed Elliot outside his office, jaw tight, surrounded by reporters. Min's chest tightened. He knew what stress could do to an alpha in heat, knew Elliot might need him soon. Sure enough, 2 days later, Elliot was back. No appointment, no warning. Just him, storming into the clinic, his scent sharper, wilder. "Min," he said, voice strained. "I need you." Min's clinic was quiet, the last patient of the day long gone. But the air felt heavy with Elliot's presence. He stood in the doorway, his tie loosened, shirt clinging to his sweat-dampened chest. The alpha's heat was hitting harder this time, and Min could see the cracks in his usual control. "You shouldn't be here without an appointment," Min said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I didn't have a choice," Elliot replied, stepping closer. His eyes were feverish, desperate. "It's bad, Min. Worse than before." Min guided him to the exam room, his hands steady despite the storm in his chest. He checked Elliot's vitals again, pulse racing, temperature spiking. "You're pushing yourself too hard," Min said, preparing another suppressant. "The scandal, the stress. It's making this worse." Elliot's laugh was raw, almost broken. "You think I don't know that? My board's breathing down my neck, the media's tearing me apart, and my body's betraying me. I can't do this alone." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Min paused, needle in hand, meeting Elliot's gaze. For the first time, the alpha looked small, vulnerable, like a man drowning in his own strength. Min wanted to say something, anything to ease that weight, but he stuck to protocol. "This'll help," he said, administering the injection. "But you need rest. Real rest." Elliot grabbed Min's wrist as he pulled away, his grip firm but not painful. "Why do you do this?" he asked, voice low. "Why put up with me?" Min froze, his heart pounding. "It's my job," he said, but the words felt hollow. Elliot's thumb brushed against his pulse point, and Min's breath caught. He pulled away, busying himself with the chart. "You need to take care of yourself, Mr. Carver. I can't fix everything." Elliot didn't respond, just watched him with those intense eyes. When he finally left, Min felt the room grow colder, emptier. He sank into a chair, rubbing his wrist where Elliot's touch still burned. The next week was chaos. Carverteca's scandal dominated the news, with pundits speculating about Elliot's leadership. Min tried to focus on his other patients, but his thoughts kept circling back to the alpha. Lila noticed, of course. Over lunch in the hospital cafeteria, she leaned across the table, her brown eyes sharp. "You're in deep, Min. I've seen that look before." "I'm fine," Min lied, poking at his salad. "He's just a patient," Lila snorted. Sure, and I'm just a nurse. You're catching feelings for an alpha who only shows up when he's falling apart. That's a recipe for heartbreak. Min didn't argue. He knew she was right, but knowing didn't stop the pull he felt toward Elliot. He'd always prided himself on his control, his ability to stay grounded in a world of alpha-omega chaos. But Elliot was different. He wasn't just an alpha in heat. He was a man carrying a world of pressure, and Min wanted to be the one to help him bear it. That evening, Min attended a fundraiser at a downtown hotel, a rare break from his routine. The event was for a local LGBTQ+ youth center, a cause Min cared about deeply. He mingled awkwardly, his glasses fogging up from the warm room. Then he saw him, Elliot, across the ballroom, surrounded by donors but looking utterly alone. Their eyes met, and Elliot excused himself, weaving through the crowd. Didn't expect to see you here, Doc, he said, his voice smoother now, the heat symptoms under control. He held a glass of whiskey, but his eyes were clear, focused. I volunteer with the center, Min said, adjusting his tie. Didn't expect to see you either. Elliot's smile was faint but genuine. I like to support good causes. And maybe I wanted to see you outside that sterile exam room. Min's heart skipped. He opened his mouth to respond, but a reporter interrupted, shoving a microphone in Elliot's face. Mr. Carver, any comment on the Carver Tech allegations? Elliot's jaw tightened, and Min saw the mask slip back into place. He deflected the question with practiced charm, but Min caught the flicker of exhaustion in his eyes. When the reporter left, Elliot turned back to Min. Walk with me? He asked, gesturing toward the hotel's rooftop garden. Min hesitated, then nodded. They stepped into the cool night air, Boston's skyline glittering below. Elliot leaned against the railing, his shoulders slumping. I'm tired, Min, he admitted. Tired of fighting battles I can't win. Min stood beside him, close enough to feel the warmth of his body. You don't have to fight alone, he said softly, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Elliot turned, his eyes searching Min's face. For a moment, Min thought he might close the distance between them. But then Elliot stepped back, his expression guarded. You're too good for this, Doc, he said and walked away, leaving Min alone with the city lights. Min couldn't shake the rooftop encounter. Elliot's vulnerability had cracked something open in him, a longing he'd buried under years of discipline. He threw himself into work, hoping to drown it out, but the hospital's chaos only amplified his thoughts. Patients came and went, their charts a blur, while Elliot's name burned in his mind. A week later, Min was in the middle of a consult when his phone buzzed with an urgent message from Elliot's assistant. Mr. Carver's in distress. Can you come to his office? Min's heart sank. He grabbed his medical bag and hailed a cab to the Seaport District, the city flashing by in a haze of worry. Carver Tech's headquarters was a sleek glass tower, all sharp angles and cold efficiency. Min was ushered to the top floor, where Elliot's office overlooked the harbor. The alpha was slumped in a leather chair, his shirt unbuttoned, breathing shallow. Min, he rasped. You came. Of course I did, Min said, kneeling beside him. He checked Elliot's pulse too fast, too erratic. You're in a full-blown heat spike. Why didn't you call sooner? Elliot's laugh was weak. Didn't want to bother you. You've got enough on your plate. Min's jaw tightened as he prepared an emergency suppressant. Stop it. You're my patient. This is what I do. But as he worked, his hands trembled, betraying the truth. Elliot wasn't just a patient anymore. The injection took effect quickly, and Elliot's breathing steadied. He leaned back, eyes half closed, and Min noticed the dark circles under them. You can't keep doing this, Min said, his voice sharp with frustration. You're running yourself into the ground. Elliot's gaze met his, raw and unguarded. I don't know how to stop, he admitted. This company, this life, it's all I've got. That's not true, Min said, the words spilling out. You've got people who care about you. You've got... He stopped, his face burning. He'd almost said me. Elliot's hand found his, squeezing gently. You're too good, Min, he said again. But this time, there was no distance in his voice, no barrier. Min's heart pounded, but he pulled away, standing abruptly. I'll check on you tomorrow, he said, grabbing his bag. Rest, please. He left before Elliot could respond, his chest tight with unspoken words. Back at home, Min couldn't sleep. He paced his apartment, replaying every moment with Elliot, the touches, the glances, the weight of what wasn't said. He'd always been the steady one, the beta who kept his emotions in check. But Elliot was unraveling him, and Min didn't know how to stop it. The next day, Lila cornered him in the hospital break room. You went to his office? She asked, arms crossed. Min, you're not his personal doctor. This is getting dangerous. He needed me, Min said, avoiding her eyes. He needs a therapist, not a crush, Lila shot back. You're setting yourself up to get hurt. Min didn't respond. He knew she was right, but the thought of pulling away from Elliot felt impossible. That evening, he found himself at the youth center, helping with a support group for queer teens. Their stories, struggles with identity, family, love, hit closer to home than he expected. Min had always been open about being gay, but he'd never let himself want more, never let himself hope for someone like Elliot. His phone buzzed as the group ended. A text from Elliot. Can we talk? Not at the clinic. Somewhere else. Min's fingers hovered over the screen before typing. Where? They met at a small cafe in the North End. The same one Min had imagined in that fleeting, romantic moment. The air smelled of espresso and fresh bread, and Elliot looked almost human in a sweater and jeans. His alpha intensity softened. I owe you an apology, he said, stirring his coffee. I keep dragging you into my mess. Min shook his head. You don't owe me anything. I chose to help. Elliot leaned forward, his voice low. It's more than that, Min. You see me, the real me. Not the CEO, not the alpha. Just me. Min's breath caught. He wanted to reach across the table to close the gap between them. But doubt held him back. Why me? He asked finally. You could have any doctor, any specialist. Why keep coming back? Elliot's eyes softened. Because you're the only one who doesn't look at me like I'm a problem to be fixed. The cafe felt like a bubble, a fragile moment where the world's noise couldn't reach them. Min clutched his coffee cup, Elliot's words echoing in his mind. You're the only one who doesn't look at me like I'm a problem. He wanted to believe it, wanted to let himself fall into whatever this was. But the weight of their roles, doctor, patient, beta, alpha, held him back. I don't know what you want from me, Min said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm just a beta, Elliot. I'm not built for this. Elliot's jaw tightened, but his eyes were soft, searching. You think I care about that? You think I come to you because you're a beta? He leaned closer, his voice dropping. I come to you because you're Min, because you make me feel like I can breathe. Min's heart pounded, but fear clawed at him. You only show up when you're in heat, he said, the words sharper than he intended. When you're desperate. What happens when you're not? Elliot flinched, and Min instantly regretted it. But it was the truth, wasn't it? Elliot only sought him out when biology forced his hand. The rest of the time he was untouchable, a man who lived in a world Min could barely imagine. I'm sorry, Elliot said, his voice rough. I've been selfish. I didn't think... He stopped, running a hand over his face. I didn't think you'd want me around when I'm not falling apart. Min stared at him, stunned. The idea that Elliot, powerful, untouchable Elliot, thought Min wouldn't want him was absurd. But before he could respond, Elliot's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening. I have to go. Board meeting. They're circling like vultures. Min nodded, his throat tight. Be careful, he said, and Elliot's smile was small but real. I'll try, he said, and then he was gone, leaving Min alone with his cooling coffee and a heart full of questions. The next few weeks were a blur. Carvertech's scandal deepened, with lawsuits piling up and Elliot's face plastered across every news outlet. Min watched from afar, his worry growing with each headline. He threw himself into his work, but every quiet moment brought thoughts of Elliot. The way his hand had felt on Min's wrist, the vulnerability in his eyes. One night, Min was leaving the hospital when he saw Elliot outside, leaning against a sleek black car. The alpha looked exhausted, his tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up. Min, he called, straightening. Can we talk? Min hesitated, then nodded. They walked to a nearby park, the air crisp with autumn. Elliot stopped by a bench, his hands shoved in his pockets. I'm stepping down as CEO, he said abruptly. It's the only way to save the company. Min's stomach dropped. Elliot, are you sure? No, Elliot admitted, his voice raw. But I don't have a choice. I've spent my life building this, and now it's slipping through my fingers. He looked at Min, his eyes glistening. I don't know who I am without it. Min stepped closer, his heart aching. You're more than your job, he said. You're more than an alpha. You're you. Elliot's laugh was shaky. You make it sound so simple. It's not, Min said. But you don't have to figure it out alone. For a moment, they stood there, the distance between them shrinking. Then Elliot reached out, his hand cupping Min's cheek. Min froze, his breath hitching as Elliot leaned in, their lips inches apart. But before they could close the gap, a camera flash cut through the darkness. Paparazzi. Min pulled back, his face burning as the photographer snapped another shot. Elliot cursed, stepping in front of Min to shield him. Get out of here, he shouted, and the photographer scurried off. I'm sorry, Elliot said, his voice tight. I didn't mean to drag you into this. Min shook his head, his heart still racing. It's okay. I need time. Elliot nodded, his expression unreadable. Take all the time you need, he said, and walked away, leaving Min standing in the park, the weight of what almost happened heavy in his chest. The paparazzi photo hit the tabloids the next day, a blurry shot of Min and Elliot in the park, captioned with speculation about the mystery man with Carvertech's embattled CEO. Min's stomach churned as he scrolled through the article on his phone, his colleagues' curious glances burning into him at the hospital. He wanted to hide, to disappear, but there was no escaping the truth. He was falling for Elliot, and the world was watching. Lila found him in the break room, her expression a mix of worry and exasperation. Min, what were you thinking? Getting caught with him like that? I wasn't thinking, Min admitted, rubbing his temples. It just happened. She softened, sitting beside him. You're in love with him, aren't you? Min didn't answer, but his silence was enough. He'd spent his life avoiding complications, keeping his heart safe. But Elliot had broken through every defense, and now Min was exposed, raw. That evening, Elliot called. Min, I'm so sorry, he said, his voice heavy. I never meant to put you in the spotlight. It's not your fault, Min said, pacing his apartment. But it's complicated. I know, Elliot said, but I don't want to lose you. Min's heart ached. He wanted to say it back, to tell Elliot he felt the same, but fear held him back. I need to think, he said, and hung up, his hands shaking. The next week was torture. Elliot didn't come to the clinic, didn't call. Min buried himself in work, but the absence was a wound that wouldn't heal. He volunteered at the youth center, listening to teens talk about their dreams, their fears, their hopes for love. One boy, a shy 16-year-old, spoke about coming out to his parents, about the courage it took to be himself. Min listened, his throat tight, realizing he'd been hiding from his own truth. He made a decision. Late that night, he drove to Elliot's penthouse, his heart pounding as he rode the elevator to the top floor. When Elliot opened the door, he looked worn, his eyes red-rimmed. "Min," he said, voice thick with surprise. "I'm done running," Min said, stepping inside. "I don't care about the cameras, the headlines, the rules. I care about you." Elliot stared at him, then pulled him into a fierce embrace. Min melted into it, his fears dissolving in the warmth of Elliot's arms. When they kissed, it was slow, deliberate, a promise neither could break. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Elliot stepped down as CEO, passing the reins to a trusted colleague. The scandal faded, replaced by new headlines, and Min and Elliot carved out a quiet space for themselves. They spent evenings in Min's apartment, cooking together, laughing, learning each other's rhythms. Elliot's heat cycle still came, but Min was there, not just as a doctor but as a partner, steady and sure. One night, as they sat by the Charles River, Elliot took Min's hand. "You saved me," he said, his voice soft. "Not just from my heat, from myself." Min smiled, his heart full. "You saved me too," he said. "I was so afraid of wanting more, of being more. You showed me I could." They sat in silence, the river reflecting the city's lights, their hands intertwined. Min had spent his life believing betas didn't get epic love stories, that he was meant to stay in the background. But with Elliot, he'd found something bigger, a love that didn't care about labels, a future built on trust. The world would keep turning, with its scandals and struggles, but Min and Elliot had each other, and that was enough.